Good morning, pretties. I'm so late today. All right, so welcome to Coffee Chat. We've gotten a lot of new followers at GYPO lately. I'm so excited. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Allison. Hello. I am the creator of Get Your Pretty On, which is a style resource for real women who just want to look cute and put together for our daily Target run. And we just want easy style, right? So I provide a lot of different outfit formulas, which are pieces that most of the time you can just pull from your closet and put together into an outfit. I am a recovering yoga pants addict, which I still spend more time in my yoga pants than I should admit. Like right now, I have one. I start every day in my yoga pants, but one thing that I discovered is it's just as easy to put on a cute outfit as long as you have the right pieces in your closet. So I'm part stylist and part life coach. I'm right now doing a 28-day coaching program called the Rediscover Me Challenge. And this is something that I wrote actually 5 years ago, whenever I got my life coaching certification and I saw the things that were working the best for the clients that I was working with one-on-one. I decided to sit down and try to break that out into tiny bite-sized chunks that you could implement on a daily basis. So for the month of February, our community has been doing this challenge and it's been amazing. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've never done anything like this before on this scale and doing lives every day to go with it. So it's been a really, really good experience. And I have heard back from so many of you who have taken action on the daily exercises. And that alone has been an amazing reward for doing this. So thank you guys for participating. Today, instead of discussing one of the day's exercises, I have a wild card day because once a week we have an implementation day and then we have a day where we focus on setting goals for the week ahead. So today is, I believe, goals focus day. I'm not sure. It might be implementation day. I've fallen behind. No, I haven't fallen behind. I'm just not paying attention. But anyway, I'm going to talk about a wild card topic today. And if you are on my secret email list, that email just hit your inbox about 9 minutes ago. So if you haven't had a chance to read it yet, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in there today. And I normally don't talk about the secret email. It's something that my newsletter subscribers get. If you're not on the list, you can sign up at getyourprettyon.com/the-list. So go ahead and do that and you'll be on for next month. But I am going to talk a little bit about today's because I think it's really important and it's something that I want to share with a broader audience. I'm not going to share everything that's in the email. So if you're on the list, don't worry, I'm not going to give away all the secrets, but I am going to talk a little bit about my journey and pursuing your passion, even if you're not quite sure what you want to be when you grow up. And I was not quite sure even up to 6 years ago, actually 5 years ago. So a little bit about my story. 6 years ago today, I got laid off from my job in corporate America. I was a telecom engineer for 14 years. And although the layoff wasn't entirely a surprise, it's also something I wasn't completely prepared for and had no idea what the next chapter was going to look like. I'm not going to lie though, it's something I secretly prayed for. I knew that I wasn't in the right career. I wasn't doing something that lit me up. The pay was good, the benefits were great, the people were nice that I worked with, but it just wasn't what I was designed to do. It was not my life's work, and I knew that. And something inside of me was just constantly telling me that. So I tried some things and I tried a lot of things. And, you know, that was really part of the journey that led to me discovering what I do today and figuring out what combination of my unique skills and talents and experiences and all that stuff, how that was all going to come together to have my life's work, which is what I'm doing now. I truly believe that everything that I've ever done has led to this point. So if this is something that you're struggling with and you're like nodding your head right now thinking, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm in that career right now and this is not what's, you know, this is not my life's work and I know that, then I want to specifically talk to you today about this. So, you know, I said I prayed for this layoff to come to be, and I survived, I don't know, like 3 years of rounds of layoffs and watched people continued to lose their jobs. And every time I had this like guilt that I kind of wished that I was in their position and wanted, somebody else to make this decision for me and to tell me that it was time to move on and find something else, but it just wasn't happening. So what that did was that gave me an opportunity to start to explore and to do some research and to dig in and figure out some things that might be a good path for me. And, if this is a place that you're at right now and you're thinking, I don't know what that is, but this is all making sense to me, then I want you to think back. So the first thing that is really powerful is to think back when you were a kid, like third grade, for instance. I think around 8 years old is when we haven't really had the messages of the world and our parents imprinted upon us, and we are still thinking about what we love and what we want to do without all that opinion mattering. So think back to that time in your life, and what did you do then? What did you enjoy? What did you imagine and role play and dream that you would be when you grew up? And I'll share mine. I wanted to be a singer. So the cool thing is, I think it was in third grade actually, our art teacher had us draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And then she saved those, and on our graduation day, she gave them to us, which was the coolest thing. I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. But it was such a cool thing because I had completely forgotten about what I had drawn. And when I saw it, I was standing on a stage with a microphone singing. And I just thought it was such a cool thing to see and think about, because it's something I hadn't thought about in years. And the sad thing about it is that I can't sing. But I think it represented something else to me, that seeing myself up there on that stage and performing was giving me some vital clues about where my path should go, although I ignored a lot of those clues for a really long time for a variety of reasons. But I wanted to do theater in college, and I was very shy and I didn't really have any experience. So I never, took any classes in that, and just completely shied away from it and went down the path of what I thought would bring me a career instead of choosing the thing that interested me or that I was passionate about. But whenever I did, get into my career and having a family, all of that stuff started to come back again when I wasn't as focused on, I need to find a job right now, or, when we had really little kids, it was really hard to focus on what I wanted to do. So eventually I signed up for an acting class as an adult. I think I was in my late 20s at the time. And that was really powerful for me. It was something that I'd wanted to do for years. I was so scared and so nervous and so shy. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. What do I have to lose at this point? So I signed up for my first acting class, and it went really well. And I ended up actually being half decent. And my instructors started to notice, and they had agents and were working actors, many of them were, and recommended that I try to get an agent, which I totally did not feel ready for, but went ahead and took a chance. I got an agent. I started booking work. And then I got an even better agent, a really good one, and I started booking really good work. And I did national commercials and spokesperson work for a bunch of big corporations and some independent films, and had some really cool, fun experiences. And I think the best part of that journey for me was gaining confidence and getting out of my comfort zone, and just really getting out of my shell and seeing that this is something that I could do. I did that for about 8 years, and then things started to shift again, and I was like, okay, this is cool and fun, but I feel like I'm supposed to be serving in some other way. Like there's some deeper thing inside of me. And I think that's when I decided, I actually started working with a coach, a life coach. And that's when I realized, in working with her, that that was something that I wanted to pursue too. So I got my life and business coaching certification. I started coaching one-on-one with clients. And I did that for a few years. Now, mind you, all of this stuff overlapped with my full-time job in corporate America. So it was a busy time in my life, and I had to carve out time away from my family. I used to feel terribly guilty when I would go to my acting classes in the evenings and, feel like I was missing out. But Craig was always super supportive of that and knew that it was something that was good for me and that I needed to do. So I was lucky in that regard. But the same thing with coaching. It's something I had to do in the evenings and on the weekends. And, I did that for a few years. And then about 6 months before my layoff is when I started blogging. And when I started blogging, it was just a creative outlet. It was something fun to do. It was an accountability partner. I never really thought of it as any kind of like business model of any sort. It was just a way for me to be creative because I wasn't acting anymore. And it was a way for me to share the things I was learning. I love to share advice and tips and tricks and make people's lives easier. And that's one of the things that just gives me so much joy. And I felt like this was an outlet for doing that. So fast forward to 6 months after that, I find out that I'm getting laid off. And I worked with a career counselor at the time that was assigned to me through the company I used to work for. And I was talking to her about what are my next steps. And she listened to everything I had to say, analyzed the opportunities in front of me, which were, I really had, I think, like 4 choices at that time. I could look for another corporate job in telecom, probably. I could go back to acting. I could do life coaching, or I could stick with the blog and see what happened. The biggest risk at the time was sticking with the blog, but it was also the one that she, after listening to me, she's like, do you hear how you light up and how your voice changes when you talk about the blog and get your pretty on and what you're doing over there? Like, that to me is the biggest clue about the direction you should head in. And she said, why don't you have a severance package, which was a huge blessing. I'm not going to lie. If you're sitting there right now and you're like, oh my gosh, I'd love to do this, but I don't have any way of making it happen because of my budget or whatever. I did have a severance package, which made the transition so much easier. And I got 6 months severance, but I made it stretch for a whole year. We made huge cutbacks in our family, and it was a tough year, and I had to have a lot of faith. And I'm not going to lie, there were many days that I didn't think I was going to make a go of it. I got to around the 1 year mark and had a little bit of severance left, and I had poured everything that I had into GYPO and trying, to blog consistently and grow a following and all that good stuff. But the fact is, I got to the end of my severance and I was not making any money at all blogging. And it's weird to talk about monetization and blogging and all this good stuff, but I was pouring so much of myself into it, more hours than I would have at a full-time job. And it wasn't turning into anything. So that's when, right before, like, I can look back on my journal and see how scary that was at that point, and how my prayers were just really, I was relying on God to come through big time at that point. And he did. And that's when I launched the first Style Challenge capsule wardrobe program. And I just really listened to what GYPO readers wanted and what would make life easier for them, and created the program around that specifically. And that was the turning point where my initial goal was, I said I would be happy if I could make half of my salary that I was making in corporate America, because at that point we had learned to live on half of my income. I took the year of severance and made it stretch, or the 6 months and made it stretch for a year. So we were used to living on half of my income. And that wasn't, a big stretch for me at that time. So really just that first year, getting back to that goal of me bringing money in again, that wasn't part of my severance, was huge and such a blessing. And I've continued, growing the business. I finally am to a point where I think it was last year where I started paying myself a salary through the business, which is super exciting. I even have a 401k. I feel like such a big grown-up business owner now. But what does this have to do with you? I think the moral of this story is that if you don't feel like you're doing what you were designed to do, if you don't feel like you're doing your life's work, like it's so important to figure that out. Like you were made to do something more. And, you know, just if you don't have the money to do it, then pursue something on the side, you know, dabble in something else, take a class, do some research. Maybe you want to get a certification or you want to go back to school, whatever it is, like you only get one chance in life to do this. So I just think it's super important to figure that out and to try things, because you, even if it feels like you're failing, you're really not failing. You know, you could look back on some of the things that I tried and say, well, that was a failure, but it wasn't, because I learned something about myself and I grew from it and it took me to the next level. And I unexpectedly and accidentally stumbled across my life's work just by not being afraid to try things. And I think that's, you know, the biggest advice I have. I've got a son graduating from college, you know, a daughter who's a sophomore in college, and I have just been emphasizing to them over and over again that it's okay not to know right now, because your 20s can be about trying things. And before you have all of the responsibilities and the trappings and the mortgage and the family and all that stuff, try things and see what resonates and see what works for you. And if nothing else, you're going to get experience. And that is so valuable and so vital. But the same thing goes for, you know, someone my age, you're over 40 and you don't know what, you know, what you want to do, what you want to be when you grow up. It's okay. It's okay. Try something. And even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. I look back on the different ideas that I've had, and sometimes I laugh at them and I feel silly about some of the things that I've done, but I also see the gifts in all of those things and how they were such an important part of the journey. So I'd like to give you an actionable item in each of these coffee chats, and today's action is to do something. If you're not 100% happy in your career or where you are with life, maybe you've already retired, or I don't know what life stage you're in right now, or maybe your kids just went off to school and you are, you know, wondering what's next for you. Take some time today, take 30 minutes and do some research about something that you enjoy, that lights you up, that resonates with you. Volunteer somewhere, talk to somebody who has a career that you might be interested in. There's so many things that you can do, but take action and start to figure it out. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You just have to pick one thing and take action today, because the rest of your life depends on it. Figure this out. Trust me when I say there is a better way. If I could look back 6 years ago and go visit myself and time travel back to that day and say, everything is going to be okay. And not only is it going to be okay, but you are going to have more fulfillment and more excitement, and you're going to jump out of bed in the morning and want to actually work. I mean, that was a foreign concept to me back then. I couldn't imagine being so excited about my work that it would come into my thoughts the first thing in the morning, and it was like the one thing that made me jump out of bed excited to do it. And I think we all deserve that. And I think you deserve that. And I want you to find that too. So please take some action today. Do some research, do some soul searching, think about what you wanted to do when you were a kid, and do something about it, because the time's going to pass anyway. Why not use it to find what your true purpose is and what is going to light you up? All right, that's all I got for you today. I'll be back here tomorrow. It's another implementation or focus day, so we'll have another wildcard topic that we'll be discussing. But I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you back here tomorrow morning. Bye.